Hello and welcome to the Field Engineer channel. My name is Guy, and on this channel, we discuss topics of interest to biomedical, field, and support engineers, technicians, and managers in different industries. Today, I have with me Achi Kushnir. Achi joined the field engineering community in February. He is a biomedical engineer with over 20 years of experience spanning healthcare technology, medical devices, and global health. He has worked internationally, training healthcare professionals and implementing innovative medical technologies before dedicating much of his career to humanitarian initiatives across Africa and aboard the Global Mercy Hospital ship. Today, as a keynote speaker, social entrepreneur, and co founder of a digital mental health startup, his work brings together engineering, healthcare innovation, entrepreneurship, and humanitarian impact. Welcome, Achi. I'm delighted to have you with me today.
Thank you so much, Guy. It's a great pleasure to be here and also to be part of this important community. So I have two reasons to be excited.
Thank you for that. And I know your time is limited. You have been traveling a lot lately between continents, not only countries. And I'm glad that we could make the time today to speak. So maybe you can start by telling us about yourself, how you began your career in medtech, and did the switch happen? How did it happen?
Yeah. So I have to be honest that actually my dream was to be a doctor, and it was kind of a compromise to be a medical engineer. So an engineer that is still in the medical field. So even though it was a compromise, looking back 20 years back, I think I made a good decision because I was able really to pave my way into the place where I feel I can contribute and I can be aligned with my purpose. Um, and I think my journey started in Australia, where I received my degree as a medical engineer. I've always been drawn into the medical field, so being able to understand behind the scenes, apart from the doctor that is holding the the device or he is actually making the operation. There are a lot of people behind the scene that is making sure that this is going to be safe, that they have designed and implemented a technology that can help him. And to be on the clinical side was very fascinating for me. And later on, I've realized that to be able to leave an impact and change lives, you not necessarily need to be the actual doctor that is doing the operation. Can actually contribute a lot by also being the engineer behind the scenes, the person that can connect between the dots, the needs, and the solutions. And I think, yeah, with my career trajectory, I think that I'm really thankful to be in a place where I am today. And I think each uh, stop in my journey and each chapter that I had, in a way, contributed to where I am now. Because sometimes you are in specific places in your career and in your life, and you're not sure why are you here. But in retrospect, when you look back, you understand perfectly where and why you were where you were and how it helped you in the future.
I cannot agree more. It's really time that tells the whole story. So you worked on a mercy ship. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the mentorship was actually by chance. I think it was also a catalyst because it was um, I always had it in my mind ever since I was a student and I was exposed to a project that we did in our last year. It was a very profound experience that I always wanted to get back into humanitarian settings, impact. But life is very strong, and you're being drawn into the realities of life, and I found myself in the medical device industry and in different positions. but I always had that dream to go back and do something really meaningful. And because I had that feeling for many years, it was difficult to make the jump and make the leap because you have already established yourself, and it's the more you wait, the more you have to sacrifice to make the change. But for me, I thought I will apply for that. And if something happens, maybe that is a sign. So actually, the fact that I was accepted in a way really enhanced my desire to make a career change 15 years down the track. And I think that getting on board the mentorship, it was, in retrospect, one of the uh, most amazing experiences that I've had. Not only because of the impact that they are making. It's a floating hospital. It's a hospital that is basically floating and sailing from one port to the other, staying 6 months and providing life-changing and life-saving surgeries, but also the human capital that you meet there. So you are on board with 400, 500 people in the same ship. Each one has their own stories. People will think that it's a hospital ship, so probably most of the people are clinical and medical, but just 20% are actually people who work in the hospital, because you need to have, it's also being considered as a hotel, as a ship. So you need personnel to actually run it. So you're meeting people from all walks of life, not necessarily engineers or from the medical field, but each and every one of them has a story why he's there, and the fact that he's willing to put his life on hold for a greater cause. I think that was really a profound experience. And perhaps also it had taught me that not only there is an impact when you're changing lives where it's needed, there's a huge impact when you are able to change people, like the people on the ship, the volunteers, from what they're doing to actually do something for the better good. And that had taught me that the ship is actually a platform that is creating a huge change in the people who are receiving the help, but also in the people who are involved in giving the help. And that was something new. It was a true eye-opener for me from being 3 months on board the hospital ship.
Very interesting. And you touched upon a point that is very important when you made the switch. You were in a situation where you had employment, you had a secure revenue. And I remember you told me the story how you had the discussion with your manager at the time when you mentioned to him that you are leaving. Would you like to share that with our audience?
Yes. So, I mean, the first thing that came up to my direct manager was the CEO. He was sure that I've been offered a better job and a better salary, and his immediate question was, "Where are you going? To which company are you going to work now?" And to his surprise, I told him, "No, I actually don't have a job. I don't have a plan. I'm just following my inner compass that tells me, um, go to Africa and see what you can do uh, with your skills and experience that you've gained. And I have a one-way ticket and I have no idea where it will take me." And this is something that caught a lot of people in surprise and in shock, because it's not only to leave a stable job and a good income and security. It was maybe also my adventurous side of me that is saying, not only that I'm going to the unknown, I even haven't planned anything. People would ask me, "So you land now in Africa, and what's next? What are you thinking to yourself? What's going to happen?" But I think it was that decision that it was really connected to your inner core and the feeling that you're doing something that feels right, that it had created these amazing opportunities that I would have never thought that I will come across. So I think it has to do something with the fact that it was very spontaneous, but very much connected to what was needed for me and what I felt is right.
Actually, when I look at your LinkedIn profile, I see the backdrop: impact, people, purpose. It sums it up very well. There is nothing more meaningful than these three words: for what you are doing today. And I'm curious, how many years did you have employment before making this big change in your life?
Yeah, so actually it's an interesting question because I just 2 days ago I gave a talk online for my home university in Australia, QUT. And there was a guy that had a similar experience as a student, and he decided straight away to find a job that is similar to what he did for his practical placement, which was in Uganda. And, I was, on one hand, I was saying, wow, it's such a shame. I could have just do the path that he did immediately after university. And he's now 3 years down the track and he's working in a remote area and he's very happy and satisfied. And I said, oh, I spent 15 years, I'm in a way I'm not regretting it because even though it's something that I was carrying with me all these years, I think the places where I've been and the different positions that I've gained had taught me a lot of skills and value that is now I see how it is serving me. So I was 15 years contemplating about I need to do something better. I think I'm meant to do something else. This is not what I feel that is right for me. But again, it's very difficult when you have some sort of expectations from the society. You have studied, and now it's your time to. I mean, it's a good question to ask. How do you define success? Because in the environment that I was living in, success is a really nice, impressive title. If you're an engineer, it's quite impressive as well. How much you earn a month and what is on paper sounding impressive, in reality, not always it is the case. And you do come. I think that also the fact that during COVID, I've been traveling a lot in my position to train doctors and to bring feedback from innovation and technology. And suddenly there's COVID and everything is all the airports are closed. You can't fly. So it was a time that I was sitting at home without being able to live anywhere, and you were looking at the walls and you were asking you questions that usually in normal life you don't have to ask because you're running from one place to the other. And then suddenly that was also a turning point because you do have time to ask yourself, where is it taking me? And yes, it is very risky. You have a good job, a stable job, but then you also ask yourself, isn't it the risk even much bigger to continue to have this safety and security, but not live the life that you meant to live? And that really resonated. And that time that I had with myself allowed me maybe to translate that from just a thought that I was carrying for all these years to some practical steps that I need to do something about it. And I think one of the other things that was helping me was that, I'm an engineer and I can always lean back into what I was doing before. But maybe to take this step is something that it will be very difficult to do later on. And I also thought that it's better to regret something you did rather than to have that FOMO, that what if, and have that feeling. And I was having that feeling for 15 years of the what if, and it was consuming me. And I thought, just for the sake of, even if I go back and it doesn't work, fine. But being at peace with myself that I gave it a shot, I think this is something that I needed very much. And that also helped me to decide, we need to do something about it. And I had friends that were tired about me telling all the time that I need to do. And they said, stop bothering with that. You've been talking about this for years. Unless you do something about it, I don't want to hear about it. And then came, there was this sequence of, the global mentorship, the application that was approved, the COVID, and starting to take measurable actions. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you acted on it because you are making big impact on the world, I'm sure. But even when you were in medtech as a field service engineer or even in applications, uh, you still made an impact. As you started by saying, behind the machines, there's a person taking care of the machines, There's a person teaching the doctor how to use the machine. At the end of the day, for the well-being of the patients. So and my message is this to the field service engineers everywhere. This is our mission. This is the impact we make directly and indirectly on the users and the patients. Now you are making that impact on people in a different way, but it's the same mission you are continuing, maybe from a different angle, in a different region potentially. And this is really amazing. So you are a public speaker also. How do you pick your topics? What are your speeches about?
Yeah, so public speaking is something that I've always been drawn into, and I love doing that. And when you have stories to tell, it's becoming even more interesting. So I straight away felt that this is part of my mission to tell the story, because I feel that there are a lot of people who sometimes feel stuck. They struggle. Maybe they can't, take that leap. And I found that, sharing the story, sharing the vulnerability, because to be honest, also it was, we're talking here more about the success stories, but behind the scene, there was a lot of struggle. Someone that 15 years wanted to do something and didn't, someone who took the leap without knowing what's going to happen. That brings a lot of anxiety, and again, you're working against society's norms, and also I've also been lost when apparently I found my place, because I came back after 2 years of work in Africa, and I found that I don't belong to where I was before, and also I couldn't fit perfectly where I was in the last 2 years. So I think that sharing these experiences is something that could shed some light into individuals if they are going through some challenges and difficulties, and that's usually I like to tell the story about the challenges and the struggle, and also I'm very connected to the human story. So for example, I'm always surprising young engineers in the beginning of their path, university engineers. I love doing that, telling them not the typical um, field engineer story, or a guy from the industry that is telling about, I love technology and innovation and how it is saving lives, but it's suddenly you're talking with them about the humanity behind engineering, and empathy, and transferable skills that engineers, if they would have, that would actually propel them and would make them an even better engineers out there. So I'm very drawn into the people side of the profession. And also, I think, to be honest, I think that it's not necessarily you need to leave everything behind and go to Africa, but I think that the principles are the same. If you're good at something, and you are making a good living out of it, this is really fantastic. But also try to make something a good, that will fulfill you, in a way that sometimes it's being missed, or your day to day, your routine you're doing, but you forget, wow, I'm just now fixed a machine that if it was not operating and available, lives will be impacted. So it's also something that, going back to what you said, that we need to remind ourselves that there is purpose. And if you can also align the purpose and the value that you bring, I think that makes people as individuals and more happy people, and more people that are at peace with themselves. So I always think that there are components that need to be added. Whatever I do with whatever environment and organization or company that I'm working for, how can I actually do something that will also benefit others in a way that I never thought about. It could be mentoring someone. It could be asking the leadership. Let's use these skills and let's do something with that with somewhere where it's needed. It could be a lot of ways. Today, in the age of AI and telemedicine and internet, you can actually change lives from where you're sitting. It doesn't need to be the message is you don't need to take extreme steps. You just need to care and to dare to do something additional about it. And I think this should be a motivation to all of us, because as human beings, if you feel more valued, you feel that you're contributing more, you feel that you're more aligned with your set of skills and the purpose you bring, I think we're going to be happier and better human beings. So I think that should be a motivation for each and every one of us to seek and find each one their own way to implement that.
That's so true. And anytime we have similar discussions about field service engineers and technicians, biomeds, this topic comes back. Actually, last week we had a roundtable with managers, and we stressed on the point that companies should not forget that it is not about assets, it's not about gains, it's about human beings dedicating their lives to the service of the business and of the mission of the business. So for field service engineers, when we go out there to save a situation, first of all, it's because we are problem solvers. We like solving problems, but also because of the outcome and the impact, because we see it, it fixes a situation. And as we said, even better in medtech, where it makes the equipment available to save lives. So it's really, people look at it as a technical job, but it's much more than that. And human skills are very important. I noticed on your profile that you have kind of certification to work in Europe and work in Australia. And when you and I spoke the other day, you mentioned that you see yourself a citizen of the world. I found that really something really amazing. Uh, where is your work now taking you? Which parts of the world are you covering?
Um,
Well, an interesting question.
was I think that ever since I was young, and also through my job, my work in the corporate world, I've been constantly traveling. So that really exposed me to different cultures, different people, different mentalities, and opened up, a whole new experience. And when you are more time away, meeting other people, other cultures, in other countries, then you tend to understand that there's so much more in common between us human beings, rather than things that set us apart. Because today there are so many excuses or reasons why people will not see each other in the same eye. If you are not the same religion, if you're not from a certain country, we're fitting into these boxes and labels. But when you spend the time 3 months in the global mercyship, when you are the only Jewish person on board, you have 500 people who are Christian, they learn so much about Judaism and how much things in common they have. And I'm learning so much how these Christians are my brothers. When I spent time in a Muslim country like Senegal, when most of the people are Muslims, and you understand, they are amazing human beings, and they think that I am as well. So you come to the most common ground that we are humans by default, and humans means we are humane, and there's so much in common that you really put aside all these labels and definitions that in a lot of ways also separating us, and being able to explore so many countries and cultures, and see how the very basic, when I was in Congo, in the remote areas in Eastern Congo, I was spending a few weeks with the indigenous people. We have nothing in common. I'm a white person from Australia, from Israel. They are living in the rainforest. They are, different color, different culture, different place. But we managed to find things in common, and we managed to communicate, and we managed, to appreciate each other. And that just shows you that there's so much more in common. And I think this is part of my message. I've been living in Australia. I have background from Israel. I've been in the last 3 years in Spain, in Europe. But now I've relocated to Africa. I'll be based now in Malawi. And I'm heading on Saturday to Honduras and Colombia. So I'm all over the place, but I'm also a guy who is all over the world. I'm a global person. So I really live by that. And I think it's something that we need to embrace and not forget that in the end of the day, we are all made out of the same material. We are human beings. There's so much more in common. And I think, yeah, if we practice that, the world will be a much better place.
I can't agree more. So you mentioned now going to Honduras, and I was going to ask you what's next for you. What is going to make you busy in the next few weeks or month? So again, it's a humanitarian mission, I guess.
Yes, and I think this is something that I am very proud of. I'm usually a humble guy, but I'm proud about this because it's very special. From different reasons. First of all, I managed to find my place where I can shine, and that was tough because I was looking for that place and space. But it's also unique because it's bringing a commercial company that, you know, most of the companies, they are driven by business, and it's good because, you know, money brings innovation and more development and more people we can hire and more skills we can gain. But sometimes they also forget that also innovation and technology needs to reach the places where it's needed the most. And it's driven by sometimes also reaching where there is money, but not necessarily where the need is so critical. And I'm so happy that I was able to get a commercial company like that had no much interest in Africa because it's not part of the strategic plan. And they invested and now strategically even relocated me from Europe to Africa because they saw the potential, because they suddenly were able to connect. You know, we are bringing now this innovation that can prevent people from going blind in glaucoma. And we're actually also making it accessible in places where people will go blind and people will be completely neglected. And suddenly that purpose connects to them and also takes over, to see that change in the company, in their employees, in the fact that they are now strategically investing in that. That has been amazing because I think it shows the potential, because I'm not being judgmental. When you own a company, when you have your board of directors, people who invested money, you will very much likely will think this is what we need to grow, to prosper. This is the path. But some of them might be missing out on also opportunities, commercial opportunities, but more than that, doing something meaningful, putting a device and a technology where it's literally changing lives. When there's no one there, and the fact that you are there, you are saving and changing lives of people on the ground. And this is something that fills me with a lot of hope. And we were able to do a program now that is really raising eyebrows in a global level, that it's not just an intervention that is so needed, it's also a systematic solution for a problem of glaucoma. Glaucoma is the silent thief of sight. So a lot of the problems are that you don't detect the people that need help, but we are able to detect, prevent, and do follow-up. And the entire program is something that has never been implemented before, thanks to that innovation and thanks to the fact that we are on the ground. And that has created a lot of waves and interest. And we were asked to implement the program from Africa, now in Honduras. And this is where I'm heading next. And I think it has a huge potential, not only from the glaucoma specific ecosystem, but the potential to bring commercial companies and to show them how they can make a profit, but make also a change and impact on society. And maybe this stage, I'm calling a lot of companies, if they have a will to explore that, and if they want to do something like that, I'll be more than happy to share the insights and what I've learned from this process, and to bring on board more and more companies, because I think it's needed and it's a win-win for everyone. So I'm heading now to Honduras, and it's going to be exciting. It's the first time for me to be in Central America, in that country. I'm very much looking forward. The need is also very big there. And from there onwards, we are continuing full force in Malawi, Zambia, Tanzania, to spread the message and to try to reach more people that we can save and prevent them from becoming blind.
Wow, that's an amazing undertaking. Thank you very much, Achi. It's really making a difference in the world, I'm sure. Where can people follow you? Do you have a website? How can they keep up with your stories and your travels?
Yes, I would love to have people to join my journey because I think it's first of all, it's like an adventure, and it's fascinating and it's interesting, and I always try to bring human story and entertainment. So it's a good break of the day-to-day, but also because, as I said, this is part of my mission to be a vehicle, to be a platform that can connect. The fact that I'm with boots on the ground, probably for the next year in Africa, can also generate a lot of opportunities for individuals. So for companies. So I really mean it. Feel free. I'll be happy to share my details also in the publication of the podcast. My LinkedIn, my Instagram, and Facebook, they have the same name, Achi Kushnir. And I could also, I'll be more than happy to share my website, achikushnir.com. And I'm not even saying, I'm inviting people, write to me if you have any thoughts about a thing you want to do, to involve your company, to have 2 weeks of unforgettable holiday in Africa and see what you can do with your skills, not even in engineering, in any field. Just drop me a message. I'm really driven by creating opportunities. I think that I think I told you that sometimes only dead fish go with the flow, and sometimes someone needs to create a new path and allow people to try a new path as well. So I said it 2 days ago to the young engineering students at QUT in Australia. Don't be afraid to explore, even to fail, but to try new things, to get out of the paradigm, to do something that is a little bit different. You'll be really surprised what opportunities it will open to you and where it will bring you. So this is maybe an important message for me to give to the people who hear us.
It's a great message, and it's very well said. Thank you very much, Achi. We're nearing the end of the time we have for today, and I think we only touched the surface with you. I'm very happy we had this opportunity. I want to thank our audience for joining us. Please comment and send us any questions you might have. We had the generosity of Achi to give us some of his time. We appreciate that very much, and we'll see you next time.